This presentation is about innovative leadership. First of all, there are three concepts in this presentation around innovative leadership. The first is leadership strategies. The second is called disciplined experiment. It's one of the strategies in innovative leadership. The third is the Rogers adoption curve, how to think about innovating. First, under innovative leadership is the idea of executing a disciplined experiment. We'll define a disciplined experiment a little bit later in this presentation. The second concept in innovative leadership is building a dedicated team. Too many times we try to put an innovation on top of something somebody else is doing already, and we are very much seeing that doesn't work very well because they just don't fit it in. Third is to nurture a partnership then between a dedicated team and your existing organization. The existing organization is mature, has all their processes in some semblance of order and predictability. Innovation is not as predictable. Those two forces work against each other. So you got to foster as a leader nurturing that partnership between dedicated team and the existing organization. Fourth concept in innovative leadership is learning leads to profits. It is hard to predict when you're innovating what exactly is going to happen. It's a not mature process. It's not a mature business. Well, as you start down a path, you'll make predictions, and those predictions may or may not be right because you're learning. But as you learn and adjust, the faster you learn, the more quickly it turns to profitability. And the fifth concept is inside big experiments are little experiments. You keep replicating the strategies inside your innovation for every time you're adding something new. So those are the five concepts around innovative leadership. First is execute a disciplined experiment, then build a dedicated team, then nurture the partnership between your dedicated team and your existing organization. Recognize that learning leads to profits, so the faster the learning, the more quickly you get to profitability. And also recognizing that inside big experiments are little experiments. So what do we mean by a disciplined experiment? Well, executing a disciplined experiment has four component parts. The first is to state a hypothesis. I say this is the way the world works. That should lead then, my hypothesis, how I believe the world is organized, leads to a prediction I can make about what will happen. Then, as I made my prediction and I engage in action, now I measure my results. And then finally, I assess my lessons learned comparing what I thought would happen, my prediction, with what actually happened. And from that assessment, I can make adjustments and go right back to this process again and again. That's the innovation loop. So the final thing under this concept is the idea of the Rogers innovation curve. Rogers is a graduate of Iowa State University, and since I'm in Iowa, I thought I should put that in there. But he recognized and has proven over and over that when you're innovating, there are certain component parts and certain types of people within your target audience. The first type of person is called an innovator. That represents about 2.5% of any population. They're out in front thinking with you. The next group are called early adopters, and that's about 13.5% of any given group. And they're open-minded people willing to try on ideas, but they don't necessarily initiate those ideas. They're just very receptive. Those two together represent something called getting to the chasm. And the chasm is for innovation to work. You've got to get across the chasm with your idea. Once you cross the chasm, you're into a group called the early majority. The early majority is just over 1/3 of any population base. If you can get the story, your innovation, sticky message, working within this group, and if you've crossed that chasm, the buzz, the word itself begins to help continue to sell the idea of the innovation into the late majority, and finally, yes, into even some of the laggards. That is how to think about innovation. Hope you've enjoyed this short presentation.